Hey, Tanya,
What's up, John?
are you cooking again in the kitchen?
I sure am. This time we are going to share my homemade sauce, pasta sauce, and my homemade meatball recipe. Stay tuned and find out how to make homemade delicious sauce and meatballs.
This is going to be an adventure. So what we got here, Tanya?
Okay, so for the meatball recipe, I'm actually doubled my normal recipe because we do freeze some. These meatballs can be frozen. So you will need 1 cup of Italian breadcrumbs, or you can use plain breadcrumbs. You will need 1 cup of grated Romano or Parmesan, your preference. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1 half teaspoon of salt, 1 half teaspoon of pepper, 4 eggs, 1 half cup of whole milk. I use 2%. You can use either. And there goes Charlie. 1 half teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Then I do use 2 pounds of bulk Italian sausage, and we did get this at the fruit market. It tastes a lot fresher than buying it at your local grocery store. And 2 pounds of ground beef. This is more like 2 1/4, 2 1/2, because I am making a lot of meatballs. We are having family over for dinner, and so I'm making a little extra. You can cut this recipe in half. I will put the recipe for half of this in the video as well. I'll include that. So those are the ingredients. Okay, you're going to start out with a large bowl, your breadcrumbs, your grated cheese.
What kind of cheese is that again?
We're using Romano. You can use Parmesan.
Okay.
Okay, and then your garlic powder, your onion powder, Italian seasoning, pepper, and salt. And then you will just kind of blend that together.
Scrumptious.
We'll come back to that. It smells good already, and I'm not even cooking yet. Then you're going to take your whisk.
What is that?
And for this recipe, we doubled. You're using 4 eggs.
What is that middle thing?
Your whisk, John.
I remember getting my butt spanked by that.
Not by me.
No.
Okay, so you're going to whisk your eggs. Well, I just realized this bowl might be a little too small. So we're going to kind of put everything into a bigger bowl. This would have worked if I made an individual recipe, but since we doubled it, we're going to go with that. So you're going to add your hamburger.
What kind of hamburger is that?
This is just ground round. Or no, we use ground sirloin.
Sirloin.
But you know what? You can use ground round. I don't suggest using ground chuck. It's too fatty. And then your milk. Your egg that you whisked. And your Worcestershire sauce. You don't have to use the Worcestershire. I just like the taste. So now that we've got all that, then you'll mix it. Make sure your hands are clean when you do this. Obviously, some people probably wear gloves, but my hands are clean. And I took off my rings. And you just want to mix till it's good and mixed. Once you have your mixture all mixed, you're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. Give the breadcrumbs time to soften. Then after that,
you have Charlie barking.
Yes. He's not in this video because this is food. So now we'll begin making the meatballs. You can kind of make them as big or as small as you want. So we're going to do meatballs so you can get the idea. I do mine about this size. When my mom makes hers, I know she does it a little bigger, but this is about the size I want to go. So as you can see in my hands,
palm of your hand.
Little bigger than a golf ball.
Gotcha.
A little bigger than a golf ball, if that gives you an idea. Now, I'm just putting them in here for now. I will be pan frying them, but you can.
Sorry, John's behind the camera.
Stay on the meat. So we'll be making them about that size. But you can, like I said, we have a lot of meat here, so we are doubling this recipe. So you can pan fry these. That's what I do because I like the crispiness, the darkness. I just like the way they turn out and the flavor of them much better. But you can as well put them on a baking sheet with a parchment paper and roll your meatballs, put them on the parchment paper, and you can bake them at 400, depending on how big you make them. I'm guessing about 20 minutes, but make sure they're done. But I prefer to pan fry them. They do have a better flavor. So, and we'll get to that part in a moment. All right, for the meatballs, we're going to use just a little bit of olive oil just to coat the bottom of the pan because we made our meatballs with ground sirloin. So, you just want to kind of, you'll see what I'm doing here, just a little bit to get it so the meatballs don't stick because we did use a ground sirloin. Pause some of that out, okay. And then you want to get that hot before you add the meatballs. So once your oil is hot, you can add your meatballs. And then you're going to cook those and brown those until they're, done. Or good and brown on the outside. Listen to that sizzle. And they smell so good. Just about done for the first batch. This recipe that I put out did make 40 meatballs, a little bigger than golf balls. So you'll get 40 out of this recipe, or more if you make them smaller. And now I've got John, my little sidekick today. He's dicing up the green pepper for me and the red pepper. In this recipe, we put 1 green pepper diced up and 2 red. You can do that however you like. You can do 2 green, 1 red. You can even omit it and not put it in your recipe at all if you prefer not to have all the veggies.
And you know what?
What?
You don't have to comb your hair for this.
Nah, it's all right.
I look like a bum today.
And he's even got the onion ready for me.
And the mushrooms.
And the mushrooms, which will go in the sauce, and we'll add all that in shortly.
So, how many peppers do you have again?
So on our recipe, we did 1 green pepper diced up and 2 red. You can change that however you want, as we mentioned.
Mushrooms?
Mushrooms is the 8-ounce package, but you can buy them whole and dice them yourself. No, we're not using that ingredient, John.
No? Oh, okay.
Not yet. That's later.
Okay.
And then we've got the sugar, the Worcestershire, the garlic. You've got your red pepper flakes, your parsley, which we have some fresh and some dried, and Italian seasoning.
Okay.
Okay? So now we're going to use 4 29-ounce cans of your sauce, which you can get at any grocery store.
Tomato sauce?
Tomato sauce, yes,
Okay.
sorry. You can, we already poured some in, so we're just going to show you. We're putting 1 can in now, and the other 3 are already in the pot. So that's your sauce. Then you're going to use, you don't have to use this, you can omit it, but this is 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. Okay, and then you use the 42 ounces of tomato paste, any grocery store. I've already put most of it in there, but this is just to show you that I'm going to add more.
Okay.
So 42 ounces of paste. And you will add more or less, or, probably more as it's cooking, depending on how thick you want your sauce. So now we're going to add 4 teaspoons of Italian seasoning.
Ooh, that's a lot.
we are going to add, well, remember now, I am making a large recipe because you can freeze this sauce. I will include in the video a smaller version of the recipe. You know, you can always half it or quarter it, you know, just take the same ingredients, cut it in half. So that was the Italian seasoning. We're going to add 6 tablespoons of parsley. I use some dried, some fresh.
Is that parsley or basil?
No, this is parsley.
Parsley.
Yeah. So fresh or dried, but we use a little bit of both. So put that in. Then we're going to add our 8 cloves. We minced them of fresh garlic. You can use minced in the jar if you want, but fresh always makes things taste better. So you want to get all that out. My hands are clean. Get all that out. Then this one you can
the red pepper.
The red pepper. So I use a half a teaspoon for this size recipe. You can omit these. You do not have to add the crushed red pepper flakes, but I do use a half a teaspoon. Okay, and then our sugar, which you do this to take the acidity out. And it looks like a lot of sugar, but remember, I am making a large pot. So 8 tablespoons. And as I said, it looks like a lot. How much was it?
I'm sorry.
8 tablespoons of sugar. You're not going to use this much if you're making a smaller recipe.
Right.
Please don't add this much sugar if you're making a smaller recipe.
That'd be a sweet pot.
But we do freeze this, and it is very good. Make it, you know, and freeze it. So 8 tablespoons of sugar.
Yep.
So now we're going to add the brown meat to the sauce. And that's with the onions in it. Give that a stir. Now, as you probably noticed, I did not add the salt and pepper or the water to the sauce. That will be added later. And the salt and pepper is only as needed, so I might not even use the whole amount that I measured out. Charlie's barking. Sauce should come to a boil first, and then once it comes to a boil, you're going to turn it down to a simmer. So it is starting to come to a little boil now. I'm going to let it go a little bit more because you don't want to scorch it. We didn't video it, but after it came to a boil and now that it's simmering, we did add our 6 cups of water to the sauce. So now it will simmer till it simmers down. If you forget the water, it will be quite thick. So definitely want to add the water, and you can add more or less depending on how much you are making. Like I said, again, this is a lot we are making to freeze some. So it should look like that as you're simmering it. So I did add some of the basil that we did chop up and a little bit of the dried as the sauce is coming near an end of cooking. Now I'm just going to let it simmer a little more, and I'm going to cook up my Italian sausage. Okay, so we did Italian sausage. That's already cut in half and put in the pot. I broiled them till they were just about done. And they're going to cook the rest of the way in the sauce. And I'm putting the rest of the meatballs in. Now it'll simmer for about another 15-20 minutes with the meatballs in it. And there is Italian sausage in there. We cut in half. I'm trying to show you the sausage.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I did put Italian sausage in there. We did cook some and cut them in half. Like I said, this is a lot of sauce, but we do freeze a lot of it, and I am sending it to 2 more families. So, John's parents and my parents will be getting some sauce.
Looks delicious.
Now it's going to simmer.
Simmer.
And it's going to simmer for about another, up to about 20 minutes or so. And then I'm cheating today. We're using Texas toast garlic bread. And we're not making homemade pasta. It's a lot of work. We're just doing Barilla.
Yeah, but you worked hard. You worked hard today, so it's all right.
And it's not hard to make it. Just when you're making double and triple batches, it gets to be a lot. My sink was a mess, but thank you to John for helping me clean up. And once this is done, we'll be having guests over for dinner, and then I'll be continuing.
If I didn't clean up, I want to have some delicious spaghetti.
Yeah, now we'll just have to let it simmer, and we can't say we didn't cheat and try a little piece of the meatball.
Meatball was good.
Yeah, very good, but it actually is even better when it simmers in the sauce.
Simmer.
So, and like I said, more than likely you guys won't be cooking this much, so I will put this recipe in for this amount, and then I will, you can always cut it in half or cut it in a quarter and just take that much off the recipe, so it's easy. And you're going to add more or less depending on, what you like. By the way, I did add little bit more paste. Jon likes his sauce a little on the thicker side.
Oop, that was a little
And
bit
I
too
guess
close.
it depends. You're gonna get steam on your.
That's good.
Yeah, if you like your sauce thicker, then of course add more paste. I did add, and I didn't film it, the salt and the pepper that we measured out. I did not add more than that. I just add that amount, and that's all. And then the water, of course, we put the water in because to simmer down.
Simmer.
Simmer. So when you first put the water in, it looks really thin. But remember, as you cook it and simmer it, it's gonna thicken. So we'll just see now how it's gonna taste.
Okay, simmer down.
Simmer down.
All right.